All right, Lisa Boothe and Matt Gaetz are back with us. Twitter, big tech, censorship, all of that. Matt, what do you make of it? What should we do about it?
Big tech is censoring conservatives. They intend to steal this election from the voters and from Donald Trump, and we should not let them. It's why I'm so disappointed and surprised that recently Nikki Haley came out essentially toting the note for big tech, saying that it would be against the interests of the First Amendment to have enforcement action and regulatory action. Well, to me, that's loser talk. We ought to vindicate the First Amendment rights of all Americans, and the way to do that is to treat them like common carriers, revoke Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, and then have the Department of Justice bring antitrust actions against Twitter and other technology platforms that are using their market power to try to define the scope of debate in this country. It is absolutely un-American, and we need a response from our government that is stronger than the response that we got from former Ambassador Haley.
Lisa?
Well, I also think competition's good, and you see, things like Parler popping up to be an alternative to Twitter. So I think competition is healthy as well, and Republicans sort of setting up counter institutions and organizations is maybe the path to go down as well. But, look, if President Trump didn't have Twitter, how would we communicate with the public? When you look at the fact that the vast majority of the media is negative, it's skewed, it's basically, there's not a lot of daylight between the media and the Democratic Party these days. And that is why you see Democrats and you see, the Twitter giants trying to shut President Trump down, even if it's just tweet by tweet, because of that very reason. The fact that he has almost 83 million people that follow him on Twitter that he can have an unfiltered access to and circumvent the media. So that is why Democrats have been so hell-bent on trying to shut down his social media handles. And it's not just that. We've even seen CNN last year wouldn't run one of his ads about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, even though it was factually correct regarding Ukraine and Burisma. So they're trying to shut him down. And, it's scary. It's unhealthy, I think.
But Steve, I totally agree with you about the competition point. Yeah, go on, Matt. Yeah, go for it.
Sure. Lisa mentioned unfiltered access, and she's right. That's the strength of the president's communication style on Twitter. But unfortunately, that access is no longer unfiltered. When Twitter is able to suppress the content not only of the president but his allies, when Twitter is able to remove investigative reporters like Raheem Kassam or meme artists like Carpe Donktum, they suppress the echo chamber that allows our movement to have the energy to grow and invite people in. And so it's no longer unfiltered access. And if we just sit back and sort of hope that competition emerges, I fear that we'll be too late. We had the element of surprise in 2016. They did not think Donald Trump would win. We have lost the element of surprise. We need to use the government to take action against Twitter and other digital platforms that are not fair.
Yeah, I've always said, by the way, just to sort of wrap it up, that actually we shouldn't be afraid of regulation if it's to enforce competition or if it's to deal with abuses of the marketplace. That's a perfectly reasonable use of regulation. Just quickly, Matt, are you on I didn't know you said Parler, actually. I want to know how to pronounce it, so Lisa's cleared that up. But are you on that? Did you set up an account there?
I'm on Parler. I'm ready to serve out my parlays. I hope everyone will follow us, but we shouldn't decamp from Twitter. It's important that we stay engaged in every platform. Absolutely.
Yeah.